Welcome to the Ocean Currents lab prep video. In lab, you're going to be using a bunch of different stuff to simulate different types of ocean currents. You're going to have some straws, shallow trays, different seawater concentrations from last week, and then water of different temperatures, some different types of glass bowls, and a fish tank, and an ice block. So lots of stuff this week. For this experiment, what you're going to be using is a fish tank that is filled with water. Make sure that you fill it up maybe the day before you do your experiment. You're going to have a block of ice that I have attached using a piece of tape so it doesn't float around through your fish tank. And then on the other side, there is a lamp or a fish tank heater, if you have one, to heat up one side of your fish tank. Now, while you're waiting for the water in here to kind of become more still, you can do the experiment where you're going to take a beaker of water and then drop a little bit of food coloring in it to see what happens just in plain water with no ice or heat added to that beaker. So once you do that, the tank is totally still. You're going to take your blue food coloring and then put several drops of that blue food coloring around this block of ice. And then you'll take your red food coloring and put some drops over where your lamp is. So you'll notice it's going to kind of sit for a little bit. You might want to come back and look at this every 5 minutes or so to see what the red food coloring is doing and then what the blue food coloring is doing. So this experiment usually can run through the whole entire lab period, so you can let it sit the whole time, but make sure you're making those periodic observations within the first half an hour of setting this experiment up. So for this portion of your lab, you're going to be using this tray filled with water to simulate surface currents. So what you'll do is take some food coloring, put a little drop in one corner of your tank, and then take your straw and then blow across the surface right in the same spot where you put that food coloring. And you may have to do this for a little while to get those surface currents to really develop in your tank. The second portion of this is to dump all this water out, get fresh water, put this rock or some type of object in one side of your tank, put in some more food coloring. You can use a different color if you want, and then do the same thing. Blow in the same spot in your tank, and then record the observations that you see. For the next part of your lab, you're going to be modeling deep ocean currents. And you're going to use two different temperatures of water. So we've got one that's heating up on your hot plate, and if we measure our temperature, we're going to make sure that it is in Celsius, and make sure that it is at least 40 degrees Celsius. Once it reaches the temperature, you can add your food coloring. Your other water should be at least 10 degrees Celsius or lower. And once that reaches the correct temperature, you're going to take your food coloring, add a couple drops, add a couple drops to your red for the warm, and then we'll kind of stir each of these up a little bit. Maybe a little bit more red here so it's nice and dark, because we're going to be adding these to a larger tank of water. So you want that to be nice and dark so you can actually see it once they're added to each other. So for this next portion, you're going to be taking your two different temperatures of water, pouring them into this PVC pipe that has a stopper in the bottom, a tiny little pinhole, which the colored water is going to actually flow out of into the water in this tank. And you're going to pour the water into the hole in the very top. So we'll put each of these with the pinhole pointing towards the center into your dish here. Second one, here's my hole. Might take a minute to find it, place it in. So you're going to pour your blue water, your cold water into one side until it reaches the very top. And you'll see it coming out the bottom. So then you're going to pour your red in the other side of your tank. So make sure that you sketch your observations. The picture in your lab manual is looking at it from a side view. So make sure you're looking at the side of your tank to see where the red water is and where the blue water is. So the second portion of the subsurface currents is to use salinity. So you're going to take some of the salt water that we used last week, the one that is closest to the ocean, and we're going to put this in your little tank. So you start out with your tap water in your little glass dish or plastic box. Don't worry about temperatures. It all should be at room temperature. And then you're going to take your salinity sample that has the one that's closest to the actual oceans, add some food coloring to it, and then take one of your PVC pipes and add that salt water with the food coloring into that PVC pipe, and then see what happens in your glass dish. Now, if you would like some extra credit, you can try this out by putting in your glass dish or your plastic box, put the salinity that's most closest to the oceans in that glass dish, and then take your lowest salinity sample and your highest salinity sample, dye them 2 different colors, and then add those to your PVC pipes at the same time and see what happens. So a nice little fun experiment for extra credit. Make sure you sketch everything and describe what happens. Answer all the questions in your lab document. You might need to use the computer for certain portions. And email me if you have any questions.